live in today has become endangered as a result of human existence vis-a-vis the utilization of the material and energy resource that nature has endowed us with. From flooding to earthquake, as well as other phenomena like deforestation and global warming, the race is indeed on to arrest the tide through various approaches. The United Nations, through both the MDGs and SDGs, had attempted to moderate the role of the nations of the world in the unbridled exploitation of these natural endowments at the expense of our well being. Various protocols are being established to midwife this process. At the epicenter of all accusation for the woes afflicting the world is carbon or carbonization. Hence the worldwide campaign against carbon under the garb of decarbonization. For a system engineer and a professor of process system engineering at the Department of Chemical Engineering, University of Lagos, Professor Mohammed Awwalu Usman, the world might have been too hasty in crucifying carbon after all. In his assumed role as a trial judge, in line with the age-long tradition of his forebears as judges and cadis across several generations, he chose to be different by putting carbon on trial objectively and delivering a verdict at the end of the exercise. In a well-researched and excellently delivered 441 inaugural lecture of the University of Lagos, Professor Usman left no one in doubt about his mastery of the subject matter, further accentuating his position as a great academic and astute university administrator. This immediate past managing director of Unilar Consult Limited, in his inaugural titled "Is Carbon Truly Guilty as Charged?" The perspective of a process system engineer on sustainability, established the nexus between our existence and carbon.
The real financier submitted by this defense team is that the real financier to sustainability.
Professor Mohammed Usman certainly established the existential threat that our world is facing and the sustainable development goals in addressing same.
Now the question is, how responsible have we been in the consumption of resources? To put this lecture and indeed the trial in proper perspective, let us look at the consumption model of carbon resource. This figure shows us what we presently do. Fossil fuel comes in here, air goes in to burn it, that reaction is highly exothermic, it releases energy. That is the energy we need to power our system, vehicle, at home and all that. But it is only a fraction of that energy that is put to use productively here. The rest live with the flue gas as it emerges, and that is what we throw into the atmosphere. It is this CO2 that is being accused of being responsible for climate change.
He further highlighted the outrageous consumption pattern that are the hallmark of our fossil consumption and the attendant emission, which is largely responsible for the climate change, hence the stringent call for decarbonization.
The defense team have the following in defense of carbon. That carbon is the basis of life, and that carbon has enabled development up until now. And that it is only an extravagant consumption of carbon resource that results in excessive depletion of this resource and therefore excessive emission of CO2 into the atmosphere. So, and that carbon can be repurposed. So the final submission of this defense team is that CO2 emission is directly proportional to the resource that you consume, and that excessive consumption undermines sustainability.
As a fair and accurate judge that he set out to be, as a brilliant system engineer that he He took his captivated audience through the string of evidence tendered in favor of carbon. At the end of the cross-examination, which he did remarkably well, to the admiration of the audience, he was able to establish the fact that our excesses in the exploitation of our energy resources is what is responsible for our climate woes and not
The
carbon.
academia has been a one-way
Thus,
traffic
the
between
inaugural
faith
lecturer,
and
as the
destiny.
judge, declared carbon discharged and acquitted to the wild applause of all present. Having advised all and sundry that recarbonization instead of decarbonization is the way to go, he used the avenue of this inaugural lecture to recount his lifelong journey in academics.
Trajectory in the academia has been a one-way traffic thanks to faith and destiny. Very early in life, I realized the divine gift in me, and that is the ease of assimilating concepts and disseminating same with greater ease. My classmates all through recognized this and indeed already predicted that I was headed for a career in the academia.
From a humble beginning as a primary 3 pupil nicknamed Math Master by his teacher to his secondary school at the prestigious Abdulaziz Attar Memorial College, where his mathematics teacher in Form 2 named him Uzi in recognition of his academic prowess. His top of the class performance saw him establishing himself as a future academic, though a reluctant one at that. He earned his first degree in chemical engineering from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. His accidental foray into the academic world commenced at the University of Lagos, where he went for his master's degree as a stopgap measure for his dream job in the oil and gas industry. His chance meeting with one of the eggheads in the Department of Chemical Engineering at the University of Lagos, late Professor Olu Ogboja, marked the turning point in his academic sojourn, as he did not only complete his master's degree in the department, but went ahead to obtain his PhD in chemical engineering with emphasis on energy conservation and efficiency. His foray into the world of mentoring and shaping minds commenced in the Department of Chemical Engineering, where he rose through the ranks to become a professor in the department, as well as delivering the 8th inaugural lecture from the department. For the institution vice-chancellor, who presided over the inaugural lecture, the views espoused by Professor Usman in the lecture couldn't have come at a better time as the world grappled with various manifestations of climate change, hence the need for the world to rethink its energy utilization and deployment.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, Professor Mohammed Usman has delivered an enlightening inaugural lecture where we listened attentively as he was the judge, listened for fair hearing, and also the judge who gave the verdict. The lecture is titled, "Is Carbon Truly as Guilty as Charged?" And he gave us the verdict, and the verdict is that we should decarbonize instead of decarbonizing. Professor Usman's lecture brought before us a compelling argument, one that challenges convention and invites a conversation about the future of sustainability and steered a rethinking.
His professional colleagues, apart from being quite happy with the progress he has made so far in his career, couldn't agree less with his postulations on recarbonization instead of decarbonization.
Professor Mohammed, Awwalu Usman is very known to me. Let me go back a little bit to history. We did our PhD in chemical engineering together. And since then, I've known him to be an exceptional scholar in chemical engineering. Moreover, we had done some works together in research, and I could expatiate on how he contributed so much in the research work. Also, today's inaugural lecture is not new to us in the department because, as the topic reads, that is carbon truly as is carbon guilty as truly charged. If you listen attentively to the inaugural lecturer, he has been able to shed light on the role carbon plays in environmental studies, especially in treatment of wastewater and the water bill. But more importantly, he was able to tell us that we don't need actually to carbonize, but the solution he provides today is decarbonization, so that there will be a neutral carbon loop. That is, as we take in CO2, as we take in oxygen, we breathe out CO2, so that the plants and water bill will make use through photosynthesis of CO2 and then release oxygen, so that we can also breathe in the oxygen. So a kind of closed loop circle is maintained, whereby the environment is now carbon neutral.
The problem here is, how do we extract this heat and ensure that we use it for ourselves? That is number one. Number two, even the renewables they are talking of, lithium, what will you use to mine lithium? What will you use to refine lithium? What will you use to get lithium in the ion form that you can use it to make battery that will give you? It is still this fossil fuel. Even ultimately, do we have the resource, the capacity, the technology, the support to drive renewable? What we should be talking of, which he actually hammer on in his lecture, is what? Responsible consumption, responsible production. At what level? Let us ensure this place is lit now. Probably that side we may not need to lit it, but it is lit. That is part of the wastage that we are talking of. At the end of the day, we are able to ensure that what we consume is what we actually need. The excess can be conserved. Then decarbonization will not be an issue. It will now be, how do we address, foster responsible consumption, responsible production, such that those of us in the global south, we can also have the opportunity to aspire to where development as the global north has done.
We should not always take the narrative that is pushed out from the West as the absolute truth. Definitely, we are not at the same level as them, and our contribution to the environment in terms of damaging the environment is also not the same. So while they are stopping us from developing, they are also developing. However, the role of carbon, Prof has done justice to it, for us to look at it without being biased as to its contribution to the sustainability of the environment. Carbon might not be as being looked at in the general world. By Prof lecture today and education, it has given us an alternative view to this particular aspect about sustainability, environmental sustainability.
The strong presence of his family members, friends, and students further underscored his strong connection to his roots and humanity as a whole.
Summarily, we thank God Almighty for making him my senior, because he has always created the late, and everybody keeps looking forward to, because he has always left a mark that everybody will want to beat at any point in time. You know, if somebody like me were to be his senior, possibly the family wouldn't be doing very well like we're doing today, because he has always been a mark, and all the younger ones will look forward to, oh, I want to beat Mohammed, I want to beat Mohammed. He has always been a reference point. So it's a blessing to the entire family. So Alhamdulillah.
Like my husband stated during his lecture, he said that for all resources, it is our responsibility as the vicegerents of God on earth to utilize these resources efficiently. We should not use more than is required. If you want to wash plates, for instance, and if you're leaving your house in the morning, make sure all the appliances that are supposed to be off, they are off. Otherwise, they are consuming and wasting electricity. And if you are using water, ensure you use only the one adequate for the purposes. So, because when you waste resources, what you are doing is you are not being sustainable. You are not living for future generations to enjoy. If you leave your appliances on, it my husband said that it causes more emissions, carbon emissions, to go into the atmosphere and pollute the atmosphere. So as an individual, even if you're not an engineer, you're not designing any high-tech equipment, you can still be part of those that ensure that our planets are cleaner by utilizing your electric appliances well.
He's very religious. Like, he's a very prayerful man. He prays a lot. Another thing I can tell you is he's a very intelligent person. He's probably the smartest person I know. And another thing I would tell you is that he's very thoughtful. He has humanity in his heart. And he may have a very strict, let me not say proud, maybe standoffish, extroverted nature on the outside. But when you get to know him, he's very soft, very kind-hearted, and a very lovable person.
Thank God I happen to be the first PhD student and graduate of the inaugural lecturer. I started my PhD with him in 2009, and by God's grace, by the special grace of God, I concluded the PhD with him in 2016. And all along, he has been a brother, a father, a teacher, and a mentor. I want to count Professor Usman as a God-sent somebody, because it took time to really teach me a lot of things that I was not introduced to in the past. Hardly can I get a course that he teaches that I cannot also teach. So we have a lot of things in common. Apart from the fact that he happens to be a teacher, our offices are just opposite to each other at any time. See, I have the key to his office. I have access to all his books, all his literatures, all his examination question papers. All the courses he teaches, I teach those courses as well too. So I have learned a lot, and then it has been a privilege being with him. It has been a privilege having him as a father. It has been a privilege having him as a mentor. He's a library on his own to some of us that happens to be his student. And then the beauty of the whole thing is that since I even concluded my PhD with him, I have not stopped learning with him. And he has also not stopped teaching me one or two things. If I have issues, he's always there for us to attend to us. So he has been a mentor par excellence. And then I hope to behave in that same manner to some of my own future children too, by the special grace of God.
The lecture was followed with a well-attended reception in his honor, where he was celebrated greatly by all present.
We're excited as a government that Kogi State indigenous is making wave, even in Lagos, in the almighty University of Lagos. When you hear UNILAG, the only university by the lagoon, and that one of our sons is making us proud, we are very excited, and we give God all the glory.
In our early days in secondary school, that's my first time of meeting him. I used to represent my school from a different district, represent his school. Of course, mathematics and debate then. So coincidentally, we met in Zaria. I read electrical, he read chemical. As God may have it, he took to academic. I was a seasoned civil servant. I retired 2 months ago as a Director of Engineering Infrastructure in FCD Abuja. So what can I say about him? He has been an excellent person from day one. He was our best student as a graduate student from Ahmadu Bello University in 1990. So he has maintained that. And when he came here, of course, doing an academic line, you know what it entails. For me, it gladdened my heart to have seen him to this a great height and to be able to even discover or present such a very wonderful lecture today. So we're happy for him and his family, and that's why we came here. I traveled all the way from Abuja to be here to witness this. So you can see, and coincidentally, we're from the same area. We are brothers, we're from the same place.
He has always topped the class. In SBS, he was tops overall. And then in the engineering, he was overall best in engineering when we left. He's been a very, very wonderful person, a wonderful friend, and I wish him the very best. So emeritus, next step. You know, today is his day, and he's a professor. And you notice that nobody asked him question when he left. So I am bound to follow what he says. So recarbonization, not decarbonization.
We know ourselves right from the secondary school. You know, he was in Abdulaziz Atta Memorial College in Okene while I'm in the Okene Secondary School. And that time, he always represent his school for quiz competitions. And later on, he was very brilliant chap because I think one of his teachers that time nicknamed him as Uzi because he's very smart. Uzi, if that is the fastest computer, I'm talking about in the 70s, the fastest computer. So one teacher from Ghana, he nicknamed him as Uzi. That's what you call him in those days. Then as God has it, we went to School of Basic Study Zaria in 85, 86, which is a 1-year program. And he come up with the best results, the highest point in Zaria, which is 15 points and 16 points. So 16 points, but he has the highest point, and he went to read chemical engineering. Both of us we read engineering, and we graduated 1990 together. And I wasn't surprised too when I came for my master too here. I met him as a graduate assistant.
As we celebrate the exploits of an erudite scholar in the field of process system engineering, we must not lose sight of the solemn message by Professor Mohammed Awwalu Usman that all have a shared responsibility making our world safer through a prudent deployment of our energy resources.